Hello friends. Now today we are going to study auditory tube. You all know that auditory tube is also called as pharyngotympanic tube or Eustachian tube. The name itself tells you it is joining the pharyngeal cavity or pharynx to the tympanic cavity. The learning objective of this lecture, at the end of this lecture, students should able to describe synonyms, length, course and parts, relations, functions, blood supply, nerve supply, development and clinical anatomy of auditory tube. As I told you, the auditory tube, it is also called as pharyngotympanic tube or Eustachian tube. By definition, it is a trumpet shaped channel which connects the middle ear cavity with the nasopharynx. Means the middle ear cavity is open to the exterior through pharyngotympanic tube or the auditory tube. It is lined by mucous membrane, and structurally you can see here in this diagram it is partly osseo, that is bony, and it is partly cartilaginous. So you can say it is an osseo-cartilaginous channel which connects the nasopharynx with the tympanic cavity. So this is a tympanic cavity. Auditory tube maintains equilibrium of air pressure on either side of the tympanic membrane for proper vibration during the process of hearing. So this is a tympanic membrane. This is external acoustic meatus. The pressure here is the pressure which is present outside, and pressure here is also maintained, whatever pressure outside, through this pharyngotympanic tube to the exterior pressure. The length of auditory tube or Eustachian tube in adult is about 36 millimeter, or you can say 3.6 centimeter. The course, it runs downwards, forwards and medially. So in this diagram you can see this is suppose lateral end of the pharyngotympanic tube, this is medial end of the pharyngotympanic tube. So from here to here it is going downwards, then you can see it is coming forwards and also medially from the tympanic end to the pharyngeal end. What is the relation with the middle ear cavity? So this picture shows you the diagrammatic representation. So this is auricle or the pinna, this is external acoustic meatus, this is tympanic membrane, this is middle ear cavity, this is internal ear. So external ear, middle ear, internal ear, and you can see here the middle ear cavity is having opening of the auditory tube here, and this is the auditory tube, the bony part and the cartilaginous part, and you can see here is the nasopharynx wherein this auditory tube opens. Now what are the parts of the auditory tube? Already we have seen it has two parts, the osseous part or the bony part. This is osseous or the bony part, and the second is cartilaginous part. So this is cartilaginous part. First we'll see the bony part. It is half an inch long and lies in the petrous temporal bone near the tympanic plate. The osseous or the bony part lies posterolaterally. So you can see this is lying posterolaterally, means towards the tympanic cavity or the tympanum. It is measuring around 1/3, that is out of 36 millimeter, 12 millimeter is bony part, and it lies between tympanic end of the auditory tube and the petrous part of the temporal bone. So it is lying between these two structures. You can see it is opening into the middle ear cavity by tympanic end of the auditory tube. The relations of the bony part are: above you can see this is the upper or the superior relation. So there is a canal for the tensor tympani in which a tensor tympani muscle is lying. So above that is the tensor tympani muscle. Below you can see there is a tympanic plate of the temporal bone. So this is the tympanic plate of the temporal. This is the cut portion. You can see it will continue here. So this is the tympanic plate of the temporal bone. Medially you can see there is a carotid canal containing internal carotid artery with its plexus of nerves and vein. So that is the medial relation of the osseous part or the bony part of auditory tube. Laterally you can see there is a downturned edge of tegmen tympani. Again, tegmen tympani is a part of the petrous bone. So these are relations of the bony part or the osseous part. Now coming to the cartilaginous part. The cartilaginous part lies anteromedially. It is about 1 inch long and lies in sulcus tubae. What is sulcus tubae? It is a groove between the greater wing of sphenoid and apex of the petrous temporal bone. The length, as I told you, is about 1 inch, which means 2.4 centimeter or 24 millimeter. So it contributes about 2/3 portion of the total length of the auditory tube. Both these part, that is cartilaginous and bony part, they are meeting at a most constricted part of the auditory tube, which is called as isthmus of the auditory tube, and isthmus is the narrowest part of the auditory tube. The cartilaginous part is made up of a single piece of cartilage, and this cartilage is histologically of fibroelastic cartilage. It is of fibroelastic cartilage, and you can see in cross section this cartilage is C-shaped. Or you can say it is curled. This cartilage folded upon itself in such a way that it forms the whole of the medial wall. So you can see this is the medial wall, then roof and the floor. So medial wall, roof and the floor, or you can say the lateral wall is formed by, so this is medial wall, this is the roof, and this is the lateral wall. Medial wall, roof, and the lateral wall. So all these are formed by the cartilaginous fibroelastic structure. Rest of the wall is filled by fibrous membrane. So this portion you can see it is filled by fibrous membrane. So that is about the cartilaginous part. The cartilaginous part lies in the groove between petrous part and the temporal bone. So you can see here, this is the petrous part of the temporal bone, in which you can see this is the inferior opening of the carotid canal. So this is petrous part of the temporal bone. This is part of the sphenoid bone, and this is, here you can see this groove lodges the cartilaginous part of the auditory tube, and this is called as sulcus tubae. In osteology section, Norma Basalis, you must have studied the sulcus tubae. Now ends of the tube. It has two ends. One is tympanic end, which is small and bony. This tympanic end is situated in anterior wall of the middle ear cavity, which we have seen in the diagram, and again I will show you, a little above its floor. So that is tympanic end. The pharyngeal end is relatively large and slit-like. So it is vertically slit-like. So you can see this is the opening of the pharyngotympanic tube. So you can say this is the pharyngeal end of the auditory tube, which is vertically slit-like. This pharyngeal end is situated in the lateral wall of the pharynx, about 1.25 centimeter behind the posterior end of inferior nasal concha. So this is the inferior nasal concha. Behind that, about 1.25 centimeter, this medial end of the pharyngotympanic tube is present, and this is the widest part of the tube. As you go from pharyngeal end to the tympanic end, the diameter of the tube goes on decreasing. That's why it is called as trumpet shaped. So in this diagram you can see the pharyngotympanic tube. So this is a pharyngotympanic tube, in which you can make out this is the widest part of the tube, and as you go from medial to lateral portion, the diameter goes on decreasing and it looks like a trumpet, and this is the narrowest portion, which is called as isthmus, and then from here the bony portion starts, and you can see this is the carotid canal. Now we will see the pharyngotympanic tubes of an infant and an adult. What is the difference? If you see, in infant the pharyngotympanic tube measures around 18 millimeter, while in adult it measures around 36 millimeter. So there is a double length if you compare the infant pharyngotympanic tube and the adult tube. The direction of the pharyngotympanic tube in infant is horizontal, almost or more or less horizontal. That means it is making an angle of only 10 degree with the horizontal plane, while in adult this direction is oblique. It is directed downwards, forwards and medially, and due to this obliquity it is making an angle of about 45 degree with the horizontal plane. The angulation of isthmus, if you compare in infant and adult, there is no angulation in infant and there is angulation present in adult. So this is, we are talking about angulation at the isthmus, and isthmus means the joining or the meeting part of the cartilaginous and bony part. Now coming to the functions of the pharyngotympanic or the auditory tube. It maintains the equilibrium of air pressure on both sides of the tympanic membrane, that is in the external ear cavity, which is called as external acoustic meatus, and middle ear cavity, which is called as tympanic cavity or tympanum. At rest, the tube remains closed. During swallowing or yawning and sneezing, it reflexly open due to contraction of the muscle called as tensor veli palati. Tensor tympani. The protection of middle ear by preventing transmission of high sound pressure from nasopharynx to the middle ear. It is also done by pharyngotympanic tube or the auditory tube. It also clear the middle ear secretions by active opening and closing of the tube, as well as the cilia which are beating towards the nasopharynx. So it drains the secretion of middle ear into the nasopharynx. These are the functions of the pharyngotympanic tube or the auditory tube. Now we'll come to the blood supply, in which arteries of the pharyngotympanic tube. The tube is supplied by branches from middle meningeal artery, then artery of the pterygoid canal, and ascending pharyngeal branch of external carotid artery. So middle meningeal artery, then artery of the pterygoid canal, then ascending pharyngeal branch of external carotid artery. So in the diagram, if you want to make out, this is the external carotid artery, in which you can see this is maxillary artery, which is the terminal branch of external carotid artery, which gives, you can see, this is the middle meningeal artery. Then ascending pharyngeal artery, which is also the branch from the external carotid artery. So from below, if you go, this is lingual, this one is facial, this one is occipital, this is posterior auricular, and the two branches which are on the medial side are the ascending pharyngeal and that gives supply to the auditory tube. So branches from middle meningeal artery, artery to the pterygoid canal and ascending pharyngeal. So in turn it is supplied by branches and its branches of the external carotid artery. Now coming to the venous drainage. The veins drain into the pharyngeal and pterygoid plexuses of veins. Pterygoid and pharyngeal venous plexuses. The lymphatics pass to the retropharyngeal nodes. Now we'll come to the nerve supply. The entire tube except pharyngeal end is supplied by tubal branch of tympanic plexus, that is glossopharyngeal nerve. So you can see in this diagram, this is the tubal branch and this is the tympanic plexus, which is formed by glossopharyngeal nerve. In this diagram also, this is tympanic plexus and this is the tubal branch of the tympanic plexus. The pharyngeal opening of the tube is supplied by pharyngeal branch of pterygopalatine ganglion. So pterygopalatine ganglion, its pharyngeal branch carries fibers from the maxillary nerve. So the pharyngeal end is supplied by pharyngeal branch of pterygopalatine ganglion. Now we'll come to the development and then we'll go for the applied anatomy. So if you see in this diagram, this is the branchial apparatus in which first arch, second arch, third arch, fourth arch, fifth is not there and this is sixth arch. So due to these arches, from inside, which is lined by the endoderm, here between each arch there is a pouch. So this is first, second, third, fourth pouch. The fourth pouch enlarges to form a tubotympanic recess. Tubotympanic recess. And this tubotympanic recess gives rise to primordium of the middle ear cavity. So medial part of tubotympanic recess gives rise to the pharyngotympanic tube or the auditory tube. So medial part of the tubotympanic recess. The lateral part gives rise to cavity of the middle ear cavity and mastoid air cells. Clinical correlation or applied anatomy of the pharyngotympanic tube or the auditory tube. The inflammation of the auditory tube, which is also called as Eustachian catarrh, CATARRH, Eustachian catarrh, which is usually secondary to an attack of common cold or sore throat, which is commonly occurring. So Eustachian catarrh or inflammation of the auditory tube. This inflammation may be due to inflammation of tubal tonsil or vice versa. If there is an inflammation of the tubal tonsil which blocks the tube, the residual air in the middle ear is absorbed into blood vessels of its mucous membrane. There is fall in pressure and it will lead to the disturbance of hearing and also the severe pain in the ear, which is called as earache, and this is due to retraction of tympanic membrane, RTM, retraction of tympanic membrane. If there is a persistently reduced air pressure within middle ear, which is corrected by periodic introduction of air by Eustachian catheter. So to keep the pressure into the middle ear cavity and outside, this Eustachian catheter is used and it may reduce the earache or the pain. As Eustachian tube is shorter wider and more horizontal in infants, the infection from the nasopharynx can easily reach the middle ear cavity in children or in infant. The middle ear infections are common in infants and young children than in adults due to this shorter, wider and more horizontal eustachian tube. So that is all about the gross anatomy of auditory tube or the eustachian tube.